last topic for the night, guys. ANZ Chief Executive Antonia Watson talked to Guy and Espiner, and she gave Mr. Luxon, she made Mr. Luxon have some hurty feelings, Chewy. The Chief Executive of ANZ. Hurty feelings for Mr. Luxon.
You've talked about ANZ having a role in getting more Kiwis into quality housing. In fact, you've called that a strategic goal. You at one point said that you raised the deposit rate for investors to 40%, not because you had to, but because you saw it as the right thing to do for the country. And it took some froth out of the market. So you obviously see yourself as having a bit of a broader role. What are your views on a capital gains tax?
So if you take back, I might use my parents as an example. So they had a pharmacy. That was their wealth, effectively, was based on the value of their small business. Do I think there should be, capital gains tax means many things. Do I think there should be a wealth tax? No, an unrealised wealth tax that you have to pay every year. How would they have paid that over the time as their business grew in value? However, at the time they sold their business, a capital gains tax on realised gains. Look, I think that it's true that in this country, people are investing in housing for the purpose of getting a capital gain on it. And if that's the purpose of it...
Oh, stay with us. Come on, ANZ. Don't fall over now. Don't fall over now. You're going to fall over now on me. 1 minute and 2 seconds, Chewy. 1 minute and 2 seconds.
You've talked about
We'll go from there.
Capital gain on it. And if that's the purpose of it, why not have that as part of the tax take?
Have a capital gains tax on
realised gains.
Yes, and just for people who don't know all the terminology, that means at the point of sale,
Yeah,
rather than just saying, your house is worth $1 million.
Yeah. So rather than going, we've revalued your $800,000 house, it's now worth on paper $1 million, you've got to pay tax on $200,000. You wait till you sell it, and then if it is worth $1 million, you pay tax on the $200,000 profit, which seems to be a fair way to do it. The danger of it is people will stop selling houses, but as they say in this conversation, eventually they have to be sold. And so that's the one downside about realised gains is, if you're teetering between putting a house back into the marketplace for maybe a first home buyer and turning it into a rental, it might give you an incentive to keep as a rental. That's the only sort of strike possibly against it.
I'm going to tax you on that. But what you're saying today is when you sell your house, you should pay a capital gains tax on it.
Once you've got the money in the bank, that is absolutely an option that we'd have as a country doing. One thing it will do is it'll give a whole lot of work to accountants and lawyers, and that's why in the past I've been a little bit reluctant. I've lived in countries with capital gains taxes.
Well, most of them do.
I know. What happened was we didn't sell anything. But eventually that time comes, and I think that there is some fairness in saying that a gain from a capital gain compared to a gain from your income. I mean, I'm mainly a wage and salary earner, and I pay tax on that. I think that's fair, but I don't think it's fair to tax something that doesn't exist, in the bank that you can easily pay.
No, but on a sale of a property, you believe that there should be a capital gains tax on that.
And there tends to be exclusions for family homes and things like that, which I think is fair. But, we have an investment property at the moment, which we ended up with in circumstances. I actually prefer to invest in share markets and equities and things like that. I know that it's not really making, a decent return in terms of a cash flow sense. So that says to me, the rationale for investment is very much partly capital gains. We're in a country where there isn't enough of a supply of housing. There is competition for it. So how do we encourage,
So the time has arrived for a capital gains tax?
If someone had the courage to do it, which I think would be politically extremely courageous, we've seen the impact in time, but if someone had the courage to do it, I wouldn't be jumping out of bed with joy because I did my dissertation on tax compliance costs. It's a hard tax to comply with, and I think we have to be really alive to that. But in terms of the overall fairness, it's probably a fair way to tax another part of income in this economy.
There you go. So a few hesitations there, not obviously all on board, like maybe those in the Greens party will just say, of course, it's the only way, we've got to do it. But, makes sense. I mean, one of the questions about your elderly relative that bought a house in the 1980s for $53,000 that now worth $1.2 million, if they were having to pay tax on it, which wasn't at the point of sale, then they're screwed. So that seems to be one of the ways around it. As I said, downside might be fewer houses being put back into the market for sale. but they do eventually all come back. Chewy.
Yeah, look, everybody knows that this is what needs to be done, and nobody has the stones to actually do it. Nobody wants to sit down and do the actual work on it because they all think it's political suicide. But what they don't see, what they don't have the vision to see, is if it becomes less profitable and less of a straightforward, this is the way to make money, this is where you put your money if you want to grow it, then people will find other places to put their money. And at that stage, houses don't become the commodity that they are now. People are then putting their money in investments into new businesses, new inventions, new products, and turning this country into a productive economy. I've said it many, many times, and I will continue to say it many, many times. The only way to make money in this country, for most people, to make sure that they have a retirement, is to buy and sell old houses to each other.
Yep.
Having people live in them is a kind of like a fringe benefit. It's not the goal. It's not the thing that people have in mind. They want people in their houses to pay off their investment so they can sell them at one point and make some tax-free money. That's the game. It's a shit game.
There is one more part about this story. It's a bit of a chef's kiss, and that is it really got under the skin of Mr. Luxon. Luxon takes crack at ANZ boss over capital gains support. The government has put the boot into ANZ's boss after she threw her weight behind a capital gains tax. Speaking with RNZ, and we don't have to go through all that, we heard what was said. Asked for his response on Wednesday afternoon. Prime Minister Christopher Luxon laughed. I love it that the CEO of a big bank from Australia wants to take more money off New Zealanders.
Fuck off.
How is the bank look, pause what she said. How is the bank taking any more money off New Zealanders if we're paying a tax?
Yeah, absolutely. Doesn't make any sense.
In fact, the bank would get less money because it would go, a portion would go to the IRD and less technically would go into that bank account. You don't tax your way out of a recession. You grow your way out of a recession.
Which is what I've said. Because we're not growing.
Yeah.
We're buying and selling old houses from each other.
Luxon said Watson was, quote, more than welcome to enter the political domain, end quote, but offered some free advice in return. As a former, was he a CEO? I never knew that. What was he the CEO of?
Some podunk little business, I'm sure.
As a former CEO, I understand what she's doing. So what he's saying, like, this is interesting. What he's saying is, what a joke. Well, look what she's doing. And now he's going, yeah, I did that too. I mean, is he aware that he's just showed his old ass saying that what she's done is kind of hypocritical, but he understands it because he did it as well? The big Australian banks make a lot of money off the New Zealand public, and I wouldn't just suggest to her that maybe taking more money off New Zealanders isn't the road forward. Finance Minister Nicola Willis also made a pointed suggestion to Watson. I wonder who's more qualified and more experienced to talk about economic things, the CEO of the ANZ or the English graduate? I just wonder. I mean, I don't have an answer to that question. I just, the person who works in financial things all day, every day as a CEO of a major bank, or the person who's got a degree in English. I wonder who would have more of a kind of sense as to what would work economically. Anyway, she says, the English graduate says, if she's really worried about the well-being of New Zealanders, then there's a lot the bank could be doing. ACT leader David Seymour said the unfairness was not the New Zealand tax system, but in its difficulty building houses. A lot of countries have capital gains. A lot of people like it. Doesn't make it right, he said. If you want a fairer society, make it easier to build a house. House prices go up because there is not enough houses. There are not enough houses for the demand that there is. Having a capital gains tax just makes the government a silent partner in that speculation. We should never forget as well, when you're talking to someone on the right, I'm not even saying national, further to the right, they often kind of laugh and joke about who experts are. This government, what they do is they ignore the experts when they want to go in a different direction, and they use the experts when they want to make excuses for why things are taking so long. Oh, we're getting expert advice. Yep, you'll have an answer soon. We're just getting expert advice. Oh, no, we don't listen to the experts. Yeah, they give us advice, but we can make our own decisions. When it comes to a financial decision, and I'm not sitting here standing up for the CEO of a major bank, but who do you think would have more of an inkling around how the economy works? The English graduate with a vested interest in making sure her government is not seen as costing people more money, or the CEO of a major bank?
Hey, look, they're real happy to hear from ANZ when they're talking about a business confidence survey. That's all I'm going to say there. I'd also say, I wonder why Luxon wouldn't be super keen on a capital gains tax.
There's 7 properties, maybe.
Well, 6 now. He's just sold one.
No, and made hundreds of $1,000s that is non-taxable.
Oh, okay. So he bought it in 2015 for $650,000. Gentlemen, place your bets. How much tax-free income do you think he made from
1.1, $400,000. Oh, it's close. 1.07.
capital gains? Christopher Luxon this week made $295,000 of tax-free income. Do you think he's going to be the person that says, yeah, we need to do a capital gains tax? This is what I mean
ownership
with vested interests in all of our politicians, with them putting their money in housing, because that's, of course, the best place to put it. I'm not blaming them for doing the smart thing. I'm saying the system is fucking broken. They all know it, but they're all invested into their eyeballs with it, so nobody's got an interest to do anything about it.
I feel like I have been a bit unfair to Nicola Willis. I should probably mea culpa, because actually she hasn't just got an English degree. She's got a first-class honours English degree. So that probably makes a bit more difference as to her experience about the economy and stuff. So I just, I was wrong. I withdraw everything. I apologise. First-class honours in English is certainly up there with CEO of the ANZ. I'm wrong. This
is probably why she busted out a Winston Churchill fucking quote today.
No, you said about that. What was it about?
Have you? Okay, so she responded in a press stand-up that you can't tax your way to prosperity.
Well, Luxon just said that as well.
I have heard that before. It is a Winston Churchill quote from the turn of last century, and it's so laughable. Like it sounds great. It sounds pithy, as a lot of Winston Churchill quotes. Winston Churchill, a man that was quite happy to gas villages and sent New Zealanders to die in a campaign that he planned with a tourist map. He's not a great guy, is old Winston Churchill. That's why they got rid of him straight after World War II. But yeah, you can't tax your way to prosperity. What you can do is you can tax your way to new hospitals, smaller classrooms, more teachers, more nurses, more police, more bridges, more roads, more ferries. You can tax your way to all of those things. And I would say that a country that does have all of those things squared away would be considered prosperous.
Do you notice, though, what I just said? Part of Christopher Luxon's pithy response to the ANZ chief executive, you don't tax your way out of a recession.
Yeah. So he can't even get the quote
this is
right.
This is their new talking points, obviously. Their new talking points. And then there's Nicola Willis in the space of 24 hours. Interesting.